So, first of all, I want to apologize for me not making so much videos as I used to make. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because I started making those videos actually for myself. I used to just record myself talking whenever I had a new insight or whenever there was like inspiration or creativity just flowing through me. And then I just started recording those videos. And then I kept them for myself. And I don't know why, until I started to come up with the idea that I could publish them on YouTube. So I don't want to have this YouTube channel as a thing where I build up subscribers and likes and views, but it's more like a cloud where I put my videos on whenever I have no inspiration, which is why it could be that I have a new video every day or once in a month, just whenever I feel the need to express something. And it's all about kind of like spirituality, but I have to say, spirituality has taught me a lot. And it has taught me so much that I even came to a point where I don't even appreciate the word spirituality anymore. I don't know what happened, but on this whole, when you pursue this path of spirituality, and it's not the new age spirituality, but it's the kind of spirituality that takes away your delusions, then you start to grasp reality as it is. And you don't believe in mental things, which is if you ask me, it's the total opposite of what is being experienced or what is being pursued in new age spirituality, where you try to seek things that are above you. In my opinion, those things are kind of like mental constructs that human beings come up with so that they feel like they are living in an existence or in a universe that is like much greater than our senses show us. But the more I went into spirituality, the more practical I became. The more in tune with my five senses I became. And I always had like this mind that was always questioning certain things. Like I told this story a couple of times on this channel. I was a Christian for 2 months. Because I wasn't happy with my life, and I had this feeling that I just want to know truth. Like I don't want to pursue anything in life as long as I don't know what's actually meaningful. So before I want to do something in life, I want to know what's truth. That's kind of like more or less my thought processes at that time. So out of nowhere, there was like this guy that I know from school that contacted me, and he said that he became a Christian and he invited me to church, and I became a Christian too. But whenever I was there, I wasn't just like blindly believing in whatever they say or however they interpret the Bible. I was always asking questions, and I really gave them a headache because I always had this thing, I wanted to make the spiritual tangible. I want to grab it with my hands and understand it. And so I was like constantly asking questions, and I never stopped. And I could feel that those people were like starting to be annoyed at me for doing that. So then the time came where I had to like leave church because it just didn't satisfy my need for truth. Of course, my thirst for finding whatever it is that I'm looking for, it didn't stop. So I continued with researching about all the conspiracy theories, researching about all the Eastern philosophy, so-called truths, trying to meditate and whatever. And the longer I was on this path and the deeper I was in this rabbit hole, I became more and more almost like an atheist, more like a materialist. Not because I'm ignorant to the possibility of there being angels or a God or a higher realm, but because it's hard to explain, but the more, there was like this feeling that I want something, that there is a lack of something, and the more my beliefs were in tune with what is actually being perceived with my five senses, in other words, the more I became realistic, the more this thirst for truth was like relieved. And so then one night I was like laying in my bed, and I had this conversation in my own head, and asking the questions that philosophers were asking for millions of years. I don't know if they have philosophized for such a long time, but at least thousands of years. That what's the meaning of life? Like, isn't that what the philosopher is trying to find out? And then it was like clear, like there cannot be an answer. We just know that existence exists. It is just here. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't owe you any explanation. And you are a byproduct of existence. You are just in there. You are just part of it. And it doesn't give you any explanation. And now because the mind is not satisfied with that, it wants to make up a certain reason, it wants to make up a certain explanation, it wants to give it a meaning. But whenever you just look at existence itself and the mind just shuts down and it's silent, then that to me is like the moment where the reason itself presents itself in front of you. So I was asking the question, okay, what's the meaning of life? And then I became aware of the present moment, and I noticed that the question itself, what is the meaning of life, isn't something that needs to be answered. It is just simply a sound. A constellation of words, of letters. What is the meaning of life? And it is our attention that gives that sound so much meaning. So then there came like this deep acceptance that existence just is. And there is nothing that you need to believe in. The more you hold on to what's actually tangible, the more there is like this satisfaction that actually you are rooted in actual life and you don't have to juggle around all these concepts about spirituality or chakras and all these things. And if you're into it, I'm not saying that you have to let go of these things. Like, we're all on a different stage. We all have the right to have different points of views about what life is. But then there's like this question, like, isn't spirituality really a way for us to overcome the fear of death? Because we want to know what's beyond this life so that we don't have to be afraid anymore. We don't have to fear death anymore. Right? So we want to find out what's beyond this life. Is there even such a thing that is beyond this life? I'm not saying there isn't. But it's not even about, to me, it's not even finding about something that is beyond this life. It's actually about experiencing the end of this life now, which is what happens in meditation. Like when you're becoming present and you bring yourself back to the present moment again and again and again, you come to a certain point where there is nothing in you that holds on to this life anymore, and you kind of like let go. And the surprising thing about it is that you let go into a feeling of happiness and joy. It is like the deepest peace you could ever experience. It's nothing that you could experience on any substance or in any activity. And then you know that letting go of this life is actually the exact thing that you're looking for when you're trying to find out what's beyond this life, so that you don't have to be afraid of what's next, what's after this life. You let go and there's just this pure awareness, this total feeling of harmony. And it's not a feeling, it's more like a sense of relief from feeling. And I don't mean that in a depressed way. But I guess you already know that. I don't have to explain that. All right, so but I came to a certain point where I'm really not even interested in all that stuff about Advaita anymore. In Eastern philosophy, I'm not interested anymore. And I feel better than ever. That's the thing. I understand that this existence is all one. It came to a point where it's not even a philosophical question, like how could it be experienced that we are all one? It's like obvious. Like existence is one whole. And the thing that I wouldn't have expected is that the way I'm operating in life is more like I try to understand the rules that we were given by the universe, and I'm following them, and that's how I get the benefit. That's how I get through life. I'm not trying to use any spiritual practices. I became very practical. I became very, as I said, almost materialistic. Even though we don't know what material actually is, it is just form appearing. But again, just describing the world as just form and not material, to me, doesn't sound too good anymore. Because it's like we have all agreed to call it matter. Okay, why should we like say that it's not matter? Even though we don't know what matter is, but it's just practical to call it matter, right? Like there's like this one Zen story, if I remember correctly, where the student is asking the teacher, like, aren't these mountains also just the Buddha nature? And then the master says, yeah, they are actually also the Buddha, but it would be a shame to call them that, just call them mountains. You know? So it's like, you want to know truth, you're looking for truth, and you end up at the same point that you started from, but just without this need that you felt in the beginning. This need for something, I cannot explain it even now. I don't know what that need is. I guess awakening is like being born into reality, instead of just following blindly whatever you've been taught in childhood. You all of a sudden you awaken first. You understand that this existence is all one. You try to discover what's the meaning of life. You find out that there is no such thing as a meaning of life, because existence is just existing and you are an expression of that, and it doesn't owe you any explanation. And then you start to understand the rules, or you don't understand all the rules, but you know that you are experiencing a good life when you do start to understand bit by bit the rules that the universe comes with, and you just obey them. And then you are just an active part in this whole, orchestra. Not trying to escape life, but actually serving it, being part of it, doing what you can, and being an ordinary person. Right? Not trying to look spiritual, not trying to, I mean, if you want to, you can. But it's not about that, it's just like, just be the Homo sapiens you are. We came here to be a Homo sapiens. All right, that's it.